Hello, everybody, and welcome back to day 5 of the Road to 2K on Chess.com Rapid. Yesterday, we had kind of a tough draw where we stalemated due to time trouble, but we fought hard and we fought hard under time pressure. So, we're going to start today with a game of 10 plus 0. And it looks like our opponent is going to be from an 1831 from Ukraine, and we get the white pieces once again. So, we'll lead with e4. We get the French defense with e6. Against the French lately, what I've been playing is a little bit more of like a Tarrasch setup. Now, similar to what we've noticed in some of these previous days, is I don't really know the theory behind these, but I'm just really focusing on trying to develop all my pieces as quickly as I can, and really try and get to this space advantage, and get in front of all the other pieces. So right now, this knight to d7 is a little bit interesting. You already notice it cuts the queen off from this diagonal, and it looks like he might want to come out to this position here. The most intuitive move to me here is just castles, because it gets my king out of the center. Then we'll have ideas of playing like rook e1 to further defend this rook, or further defend this knight. He might have ideas of, knight f6 or knight gf6. And after which, I think that we will just defend with the rook. So, castles. And our whole goal today, really, especially after a loss like that yesterday, is to keep our pieces moving and to make sure that we're not falling into, 8 minutes of time trouble against our opponents. So it looks like castles kind of threw our opponent off a little bit. He's going to bring the bishop out. And we immediately do have a chance to take the bishop pair, but give up this knight in the meantime. And it does leave him with this A and B versus our pawns are relatively uninterrupted. And he has this small center, which isn't as effective at controlling these center squares. We do have to watch out, though. He does have ideas of trying to take this and damage our pawn structure. But I think after a move like knight takes, pawn takes, we may have, c4 to gain more of the center with one of our non-E or D pawns. So let's go for that before we think too much. The issue with c4, if we look, is it does make our bishop a little bit more passive. But I don't know if we're actually worried about that just yet. So what I might do here is, if I play c4, he plays this piece out, and we play b3. I like it, but I don't love it. So I'm actually going to start with rook to e1. And I'm actually kind of hoping here for like knight to e7 and castles, because then we may have some Greek gift ideas where all of our pieces are going to rush in towards that king. But the more intuitive move to me feels like knight gf6 here for black. While our opponent's taking a think here, I do want to thank everyone for all of the support on these videos. It's meant a lot, and it's been a lot of fun to be able to make this content and just kind of hang out and show chess in this manner. Well, let's go ahead. Let's maybe solidify the pawn instead of playing c4. I'm kind of liking c3, and then we'll figure out a home for this bishop somewhere on this diagonal. So we're a day away from the weekend here. It's Thursday evening, heading into Friday morning. The goal this weekend is, we're going to go probably play a chess tournament somewhere. I'm unsure of which one that is just yet, but something to look forward to on the channel is I do plan to do some recaps soon where we kind of talk through the games afterwards and, see where our highlights were, see where our downfalls were, and really, once again, use that as an opportunity to improve our game. This bishop to f4 is kind of striking my eye, but he does have 1, 2, 3 defenders of that square, and this pawn can always push. So if we imagine a full capture sequence, bishop here, pawn here, takes, 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 takes. We do have this last pawn. So I think that bishop f4 and then maybe dropping it back to g3, it might be fine. He does have ideas after bishop f4 of pushing like g5, g6, and getting this attack going. But we're going to go for it. Because I mean, I feel like in this position you don't want to castle queenside, and I might be completely off on that. So he goes for it. If I go bishop to g3, and he goes h5, that hangs the pawn. If I go bishop to h5 and he plays f5, that hangs that pawn as well. So we're going to go bishop to g3. Because I do want to stay on the same diagonal with the queen to try and exploit this pin at some point. So he brings the knight out, which I wasn't really expecting the knight to come out in this position. If I go bishop here, it doesn't quite work yet. My idea here might be to play like queen to b3, but then this knight becomes undefended. If I push this now, he can just take, and we have nothing. Maybe I play b4 with the idea of b5 and seeing what he wants to do about this bishop. And it does make it less enticing for him to do this queenside castle. So 3 minutes down on the clock, we're going to go ahead, we're going to push that pawn, try and get here. He plays h6, which does prevent us from going further into the position. If I go h4, b5, pawn takes, rook takes. So we're going to storm the pawns on that queen side and force him to come up with something here. You know, one thing I've noticed I was chatting with some of my friends with is recording these games has been a little difficult, more so in regards to my time management, because commentating and making sure I'm actually, you know, talking about what my ideas are and being able to play them over the board quickly is definitely not a skill that I've acquired yet. It's going to take some time, so I'm hoping soon that we start to get that fluidity back and really get our time back. Now you'll notice from yesterday I am back down to 1842. As it typically goes, after I record these games, I tend to play 1 or 2 more, and unfortunately they haven't quite gone as well as I had hoped they would. So he brings this knight out, targeting this bishop. The knight was previously controlling this square and controlling this square. We might have ideas of pawn, bishop here. If pawn takes, we have rook takes. With the idea that if the king moves up, actually if the king moves up, I don't know if we have a great response there. So instead, if we play b5 and the bishop comes here, we can play c4. If we play b5, pawn takes, the bishop is under attack, the rook is under attack, so we can have rook captures rook, queen captures rook, threatening this h8 move. He may have to play like b6, but then the bishop does hang. So it doesn't seem super obvious. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to play for b5. He can, nope, he's going to go into this variation. If he wants to trade the rooks, I'm actually think I'm pretty okay to trade the rooks here. And it's nice that we have 2 things being under attack at once. Now his idea might be to go there. If he does that, we're going to start with this capture here. He can take, and we're going to take back with the F pawn to kind of fix our pawn structure once again. And we still have ideas of this like queen to h8 check, which feels pretty strong because it forces the issue a little bit of what he wants to do in the position. He takes with the knight. Let's go ahead, let's take back with this pawn. Now our king is going to be a little bit weak just because of this diagonal opened up. But the board is opening up pretty quick. We're starting to see some pawns off, so this bishop should start to be a little bit stronger than this knight here on d7, especially with the positioning of those pieces. So here, my first inclination is to try and build more pressure on this piece here. But one of the things I'm seeing is that this pawn is under attack. And I do kind of want to play this queen move. And if he wants to play an endgame, I think I would actually be pretty happy to play an endgame in this position. And here my idea might actually be to play b6, because if he takes, we have this check. And we should be picking up material. So we're going to play b6, sacking the pawn, but the queen has to stay and defend this knight in this position. Now we do have to be careful that we don't run out of checks, because if we do and he takes this pawn, we're in a lot more trouble very, very, very quickly. So let's play bishop to b5 check. There's no blocking squares. This pawn comes up, so if I push this pawn, this is still hanging down here. But if he ever takes it, then we take this pawn with check and we have this pass pawn. So I'm going to play, let's go with c4 first to kind of glue in this bishop. With the idea that we're going to shoot for d5. Oh, he goes for this. So I think in this position that I like queen takes queen. If I go bishop takes, he goes rook takes. So I am going to play d5 first to come into the position. I think there's going to be, yep, so he comes here, he's attacking this pawn, he's attacking this bishop. We're going to go ahead, we're going to move up into the position. If he wants to take our bishop, he is certainly welcome to. And we may have just entered a much worse endgame for white, unfortunately. So, has not been the hottest start to the series that we were hoping. And unfortunately, if he takes this bishop, I don't see much option other than to double our pawns, which then become incredibly weak. And after rook to c5, we're certainly losing a pawn. Oh, he goes here first. Interesting. So I don't think that that's as good. We're going to start by capturing this pawn here. Now this is under attack. This is under attack. If I go rook here. Okay, so he wants to win the bishop right off rip. But the bishop is sort of defended. Oh, this is not good. So if we go here. Yeah, this is really bad, actually. Unfortunately. If we take, he can take this. We can take again. What if I play king over? Is he going to hit me with a check? This 5 minutes to 3 is certainly not helping our case right now. And this rook is threatening to just infiltrate and destroy our position. So we've done it to ourselves once again, where we are in significant time trouble in a worse endgame, without any doubt of what's happening here. He does have pawn takes, king takes knight, but there is no rook takes bishop because the rook is still here. So I'm trying to kind of goad him into this knight takes. Okay, so he goes there. That's not a huge concern yet, because there's no good way to attack this pawn here in the corner. If I go back, he maybe has ideas of coming to this square, but then I'll come up to king to d4. So very nice move by him, continuing to put on the pressure. Let's go ahead, let's play pawn takes first. I somewhat expect rook takes, because that seems to be in the nature of where he's been pushing his pieces and kind of playing them out. Here we're going to go ahead. Let's bring the bishop up here to this square, targeting h4. If h5, we're going to play g4 to get out of the way. Okay, he goes there. We're going to bring our bishop to g6. That way we can try and bring it back into the position somewhat quickly. Although this position does look pretty not great for us. I'm going to focus in here to hopefully not flag, because we are unfortunately quite close here. Yep. I don't think he's going to repeat the position by any stretch. It seems kind of silly to do so anyways. I'm going to give up this pawn. Yep. We're going to bring our bishop back. If he goes with the check, we go to e3. Goes with the knight check. I expect rook to b3 might be on the way. Is he going to continue to push me down? He is. Okay. Rook up. Is there a good way to defend that? It might be with the rook over. He doesn't have a way to defend this knight now, so he's losing the knight. Okay, he's going to go for the flag. Is he going to play this rook to d2 move? Yep. Well, good game to our opponent. Let's go ahead. Let's look at the game review. So we played with a 72.6. Our opponent played with a 74. Out of the opening, the Tarrasch, we ended up playing mostly book moves. We found the best move here to take an advantage by getting that bishop pair. c4 was the best move to take the center, and I don't know why we got scared of it. But instead, we just tried to develop our pieces. We started with a queenside push, which wasn't correct, and we lost some of our advantage. And after b5, we missed that he can just trade everything off in time and make our position a bit worse. Even to here, we have a slight advantage. The bishop comes in, and we really just never got going. The queen trade was the wrong idea, because as we very quickly saw, the endgame simply puts too much pressure on us, as he kind of just got his pieces all together and ready to go. Now, at the end here, after he decided to check around for a bit, we did end up winning his knight with this piece here, but unfortunately, we weren't able to convert due to time pressure, which happens. So we moved to, I believe, 1-3-1 in our series, and we hope that we can stop this skid and really start to gain that rating back. So thank you everyone for watching. If you enjoyed this commentary, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you on the next day.